All right, I've got 6:05. What do you say, Rich?
We are recording,
Let's do it.
Chair.
Okay. Good evening and welcome to the May 13th, 2021 Design Commission regular video meeting. It is 6:05 p.m. Pacific time, and the Design Commission meeting is now in session. My name is Rich Irwin, and I am the Design Commission Chair. Tonight's virtual Design Commission meeting is being brought to you via video conferencing technology provided by Zoom. The Zoom video of this meeting is being broadcast live via Zoom and will be uploaded to the city's YouTube channel. CPD Director Jeff Thomas, Senior Planner Robin Probsting, and other staff members are participating in tonight's meeting remotely. Public audience members are listening to the meeting by telephone or using Zoom teleconferencing applications. Welcome to all, and thank you for joining this evening. Commissioners, please ensure that your microphones are turned on for the roll call. We will be conducting roll call votes so that we accurately capture each person's vote. Vice Chair Brandt.
Here.
Commissioner Grambois.
Here.
Commissioner McPherson.
Present.
Commissioner Perez.
Here.
Commissioner Soprano. Commissioner Soprano is not present. Commissioner Czar. Commissioner Czar is not present. Thank you. For this meeting, we continue to utilize the Zoom platform. I will do my best to recognize you in the order in which hands are raised. After being recognized, you may then ask your question. Commissioners, as we have been doing, please limit yourself to one question and to one clarifying question so that each commissioner has a chance to ask a question before the next round of questions by commissioners. We will now move to the appearances portion of our agenda, where individuals wishing to speak live during our meeting may do so by telephone or using the Zoom teleconferencing application. This is the opportunity for anyone to speak to the Design Commission on any item. All remarks will be addressed to the Commission as a whole and not to individual Commission members or staff members. If any person makes personal, impertinent, or slanderous remarks, or who becomes boisterous, threatening, or personally abusive while addressing the Commission, I may request that the person leave the meeting. When it is your turn to address the Commission, be sure to speak audibly. Excuse me. And to state your name for the record. Your comments will be limited to 3 minutes. Andrea, is there anyone who has signed up for appearances that wishes to address the Commission?
No, Chair, we had no one sign up to speak tonight.
If there are no appearances, we will move on to the next agenda item. The first item of business this evening is to review and consider approving the April 22nd, 2021 minutes. Before entertaining a motion, I want to mention that Governor Inslee's proclamation number 20 through 28 regarding the Open Meeting Publics Act was extended indefinitely until the end of the emergency. Please have a look at the minutes, and when you feel that they are to our group approval, we will move to a motion.
They're okay by me.
Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from the April 22nd meeting as written.
We have a motion to approve the minutes of the April 22nd meeting as written. Do I have a second?
I second.
I have a second.
Was that
We will go
Anthony?
through the vote.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Andrea, please conduct a roll call vote. Commissioners, please make sure your microphones are on. Chair Irwin votes aye. Vice Chair Brandt.
Aye.
Commissioner Grambois.
Aye.
Commissioner McPherson.
Aye.
Commissioner Perez.
Aye.
Commissioner Soprano and Czar are not present. I assume that the motion passes and that the minutes may assume to be approved. The next item of business is a study session for DSR 20-010, a Shell station renovation. Senior Planner Robin Probsting will provide a brief presentation.
Thank you, Chair. I will share my screen here briefly. Can everyone see my PowerPoint?
Yes.
Excellent, thank you. Good evening, Design Commissioners. I'm Robin Probsting, your Senior Planner. Tonight we have just one item on the agenda, which is a study session for the proposed update to one of the Shell stations in Town Center. Recall study sessions are meant to provide a forum for applicants to get early feedback on project designs before the public hearing and approval process. So no design is rendered at study sessions. This is simply an opportunity for the applicant to present the proposed design and for the design commission to offer early feedback. My thought is I'd say just a few words to introduce the project and get everyone oriented. And then I'll turn it over to the applicant to more fully introduce the project to you. So just to get oriented here, the subject site is located at the southwest corner of Southeast 28th Street and 80th Avenue Southeast. It's just west of Island Crestway here. Since the site is within the town center zone, Chapter 1911 of the city's code applies. And the proposed scope of work is to replace the fuel canopy and pumps, as well as add a small addition to the convenience store on site and redo the exterior of the convenience store. And I'll go over the code point by point once the applicants had a chance to speak to the project, but I'd like them to introduce and just tell you about the design before I dive into code.
Robin,
So
can I
with, please.
interrupt for just a second to note for the record that Commissioner Soprano has joined us.
Excellent. Welcome. And with that, I will turn it over to Brad Call from the applicant team to speak to the project and introduce the design to you. Brad, are you ready?
Great, thank you. Yeah, this is Brad Call, Call Design Architecture. Let me share my screen here again. Okay, all right, so yeah, so like Robin was saying, I just went through on my presentation. I brought the code into the different slides that I have here to go point by point through the code. So I don't know if that's the proper way to go through this, but maybe first I'll just find a couple of slides here of our site plan. So just to review the existing conditions, I guess that's what this plan is. So here we have our existing canopy and fuel pumps. Right now, there isn't an existing grocery store or convenience store. It's a two-bay auto repair shop with small office and 2 toilets that are accessed from the exterior. Very minimal landscaping exists on the site, and just not really well-defined parking stalls. It's just kind of a park wherever you. I tried to line some here on my site plan, but those lines don't actually exist. That's kind of the existing site plan. And then as far as, you can see the picture of the existing pumps and the existing old repair shop building. And so what my client would like to do is to replace the existing fuel pumps with a new. So this is our new site plan here on the right. So add a 16-foot addition to the rear of the building to house back a house for storage for the convenience store, along with cooler boxes for a new refrigerated cooler, and then provide a new pedestrian access from 80th Avenue through a new accessible parking stall, and 2 new electrical vehicle charging stations, and the new pumps. And then we're also replacing the underground fuel tanks. Let me just go down here to the last few pages. I just have our exterior. Wait, what happened there? Go back. So here's I got things in the way here. The east elevation, which is off of 80th Avenue, and then I guess that's the west elevation towards QFC. So we're going to be replacing all the windows with new storefront and new stone, brick, and EIFS exterior cladding, along with some new canopies, changing the roof heights with some new parapets. Had some visual interest. The rear of the building is a blank wall. It's along the cooler box. So it doesn't really lend itself to have windows. We have put windows butted to cooler box. We have a project in Port Orchard, they required that. So we'd consider that if that's something we want to do, but it would just be looking into a cooler box wall. And then the main front entrance, which is just taking the existing 2 roll-up doors, the right side storefront, and replace those with storefront to look into the new convenience store. Small entrance canopy for weather protection, which would be the transition from the main canopy of the fuel canopy to that canopy as you enter the store from the fuel side. So in short, we're just trying to take this kind of old, very dilapidated building and trying to bring it up to be a very nice looking building that present itself well for my client's customers and for the city. And I guess that's the main idea. I don't know what we should do next. We go through the code, go through individual pieces. What do you think, Robin? Or anybody have any questions?
Yeah, if there's any questions about the design choices, maybe that's a good next step. Otherwise, I'm happy to dive on in and start talking code.
That sounds good.
Commissioners, did you have any questions?
I do. I think I'll come back to them once I've heard from you, Robin, though, just because some of them are tied to code. My guess is you'll answer a few of them, so I'll wait.
Hopefully.
Yeah, I was going to do exactly the same thing. So, just signage and colors and that sort of thing.
So should I stop my share?
I can come back later. Once Robin's.
Yeah.
I think Commissioner Grambois has a question now.
Is there still going to be existing service station, or is it going to all be a convenience store now?
No, there will be existing, the service station remains. So we'll have the pumps. They're shown here.
Right, the gas, but right
Yeah,
now,
the gas. Oh no, there'll be no auto repair. It'll be all convenience store.
okay. No more auto repair. Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Okay, I'll
Robin,
go
please
ahead.
go ahead.
Okay, thank you. I'll reshare my screen here. Okay, can everybody see my screen now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, excellent. So I'm just going to run through code section by code section. I did have a couple of questions that came up during the course of review, but I'll raise those as I come to the appropriate code section. So the first code section has to do with bulk regulations. The code sets a base height limit of 27 feet. And in addition, there's also the average daylight plane standard requiring buildings to step back at 25 feet in height. The fuel canopy and convenience store are both proposed to be 18 feet in height at their tallest point, which is comfortably under both those standards and therefore consistent with code. Lighting is required by code to be pedestrian scale, LED or low wattage, shielded and integrated into the overall design. And here the lighting fixtures are proposed to be installed at just under the canopy, so just under 18 feet, or on the sides of the convenience store building at 8 feet in height. And both of those support generally a pedestrian scale. LED lights are proposed consistent with the code. And the lighting fixtures will be shielded either by being installed underneath the canopy or through use of a shielded fixture, as will be the case on the building mounted fixtures. The plans specifically call out a model that's full cutoff shielded. And in both cases, the lights will be installed on the buildings themselves, integrated into the design as called for by code. On to building design. building design standards require articulated transparent facades along pedestrian rights of way, which here are the north and east facades along 28th and 80th. And there the proposed design includes articulated windows consistent with this standard. The applicant also updated the design this evening, which was updated since your packets went out. The west facade is also now going to have windows too. So the side to the west facing QFC will also have transparent facades. This code section includes a prohibition on untreated blank walls, which are defined as a wall over 6 feet in height with a horizontal length greater than 15 feet that does not include a transparent window or door. And currently the south facade includes a wall that meets the definition of blank wall. However, the code does include suggested methods for treating blank walls, which include, among other examples, landscaping with planting materials that are sufficient to obscure or screen at least 60% of the wall. And here there's a hedge along the southern wall or the southern property line rather, it's fairly tall. It blocks the view between the convenience store and the medical dental building to the south. I would submit that the hedge sufficiently screens the blank wall and is consistent with the code. But this is one question I wanted to bring to the design commission at the study session. Do you agree that the hedge in place is sufficient to screen the blank wall? And we can either break open now and talk about it, or we can discuss it at the end. But I did want to flag this issue and run it by you.
Let's discuss this as part of a group of questions after we've gone through the whole thing. Thank you, Robin.
Very good.
Quick question with this photo here. Maybe Brad can answer it. How tall is the existing building there on the right? Do you know? Really,
Yeah,
my question is how much taller is the new building going to be relative to what we see there?
I think it's like 2 feet taller. Yeah.
Okay. And
Just
10 feet
parapet.
closer to the hedge.
Yeah, yeah. So it's just the parapet is the existing parapet shown there. We're going to go up another 2 feet to try to screen any exhaust ducts, but the roof itself would be the exact same height.
I see. Okay, thanks.
Yep.
Good. On to materials and color. The code requires the use of high quality materials and a cohesive color palette, a variation in materials, and limited use of bright colors. And here the proposed material palette is earth toned with some bright colors used only in the sign and fuel canopy. The code does include a standard saying that EIFS, quote, should be limited to use as a minor building facade element, unquote. In the elevation shown here, the EIFS is this taupey color on top. So the question I wanted to bring to the design commission is, does the design commission agree that EIFS is used as a minor building facade element? If not, since this code standard uses the term should, we can review the chapter objectives to see if the codes could still be met. Recall that when the term should is used, there is some flexibility with the code. So one more thing to flag for later. Parking standards are tied to the size of the building. Here, the convenience store is proposed to be just under 1,600 square feet. General retail uses are required to provide 2 to 3 parking stalls per 1,000 gross square feet. So if we took the 3 stalls per 1,000 square feet, which would be the higher standard, that would yield 4.8 required stalls. And here's 6 stalls are proposed, which would more than be enough for the worst case scenario. The last section is signs. And I see I should have specified in my staff report that 1 wall sign per business on each street frontage is allowed. A sign is defined as, quote, any series of letters, figures, design, symbols, lights, structure, billboard, trademark, or device intended to or used to attract attention to any activity, service, place, subject, person, firm, corporation, or thing, unquote. So based on that definition, I understand the Shell logo to be a sign, and therefore only 1 per business per street frontage would be allowed. So here on the east elevation only, there are 2 logos My read of this code is that one of them would need to be removed given the standard, but again, happy to have this discussion with the design commission if you understand the code differently. I'll take a pause there to see if there are questions. Is there anything we've gone over so far that you have questions on?
I have one question, if that's okay. My name is Matt Randy.
Hey, Matt.
Hey, regarding the signs, we're not interested to put the Shell logo on the building, number one. It was there at the beginning and it stayed there. Are we interested to put a small sign? It's just like the Jackson food store, you know, they got Shell on the canopy and Jackson on the front of the store, right? And so we have a corporate quote unquote name. It's called Sun Marts. So the Sun Mart would go in the front of the store above we would like it to go on the front of the store above the building, the front doors. And it's not on here, but we don't want the Shell logo on the building, number one. So that would disappear. And in the front doors, right above the front doors, it would say Sun Mart. It's it's our logo, and it's our corporate logo. And so the only Shell logo that we would want it to apply for would be on the canopy.
Mr. Randish, would you, for the record, since we're recording this, state who you are specifically?
Yeah, my name is Matt Randish, and I'm the wholesale division manager for Sun Pacific Energy, the applicant to this project.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And so, sorry, just so I'm clear, on the north facade, you would have your logo right over the front door. And then here on the east facade, you'd have the Shell logo on the canopy and then nothing on the building?
We would like, I don't know what's allowed, so I don't know what the sign code is, but it would definitely not be the Shell logo on the building. We're not really interested putting Shell on the building, just our corporate name. So if we were allowed two sides, we would.
So one thought that occurs, and thanks for the update. I understand design's still evolving, and it's good to talk through these things. I think there's an argument to be made that since the standard is one wall sign per business per street frontage is allowed, if there were two different businesses, Sunmart and Shell, I think there's a case to be made that the code is still met because only one sign per business is allowed if we consider Sunmart and Shell two separate businesses. Just a thought.
Okay.
So is it, Matt, is it two businesses? Essentially, a fuel side and a convenience side?
Well, I guess you could argue that it's a gas station, and then slash a convenience store.
Or do we just can it and put one on the front and just get it over with?
Yeah, at this point, yeah, whatever's allowed is what we would apply for Sunmart on the building. So if that isn't even allowed for one, I mean.
One wall sign per street frontage per business is allowed. And this isn't something we have to solve right here and now. I think it's just, here's one bit of feedback and you can come back and make your case for whatever design you'd like to put forward.
Well, then, so the Shell logo would be on the canopy would be one for a street frontage. And then if we went on the front of the building, it would cover the street frontage for the other street. Then we have the case of there's a gas price monument sign too that's in the corner.
It's separate.
That's separate. Okay.
That wouldn't be a wall sign.
Our concern is just to get the Sunmart on the front above the front doors. You know, we don't want any big hoopla or anything, just something. We're trying to keep this site, you know, we do a lot of these stores and we keep them very streamlined and this will be corporately run by our team, and it's going to be a clean operation, and we keep them very, streamlined and professional. So.
So just to recap, just so that I'm really clear, and please somebody correct me if there's a different understanding. What I'm hearing right now is that there would be a Shell logo on the canopy on the east side. There would be the umbrella company over the canopy on the north side over the door, and nothing on the west side.
Correct.
Well, a Shell logo on the west
Oh.
side.
Oh, do we want, yeah, can we keep that?
So there's two frontages, right?
Yeah.
It's true. There are two street frontages.
That's right. Just so that's what I just want to make sure that we're guiding correctly on the signage code.
That's right. The code says you only get one sign per street frontage. I have a practical question for you guys too. I'm just looking at how close the canopy is to the facade of the building and looking at where the Sunmark sign might go in lieu of the Shell sign that was up there. And I'm not really sure you're going to see it very well, right? It just looks like there's only a couple of feet between where that sign would be and the edge of the canopy. So doesn't strike me that that's a great spot for a sign, but that's your guys' call, of course. It's just a sidebar.
This is something and shame on me, this is something I haven't brought up to Brad before, but it's always been on the back of my mind, but there's so many things going on, but I knew this moment would come, and here it is. So yeah, we would pick the most appropriate sign to fit the code. And that's our vision of how we want to do it. So.
Is there a Shell logo facing the street on the north side on the canopy
right now?
Or proposed?
No, there isn't.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
And what's the code regarding the west face that doesn't have a street adjacent?
It's, it looks like it could be flexible. I'm just gonna bring up the code here. Oh, pardon me. It speaks to driveways. So, and sing out if Brad and Matt, if you don't think the driveway, the west side doesn't really have a driveway. I think there's kind of a pull in there. Basically, it says, so one wall sign occupying businesses facing streets, one sign per business for street frontage. However, commercial use occupying a building, oh, pardon me, whose only exposure is from a driveway or parking lot. Never mind. So it looks like there would not be a wall sign allowed on the west side because there are already building faces adjacent to the north and east facades.
And commissioners, we'll get to discussion here in a minute, but it's important to note in the code that Robin just brought up that these are shalls, these aren't shoulds. And so, you only get one wall sign. And I think the argument would be, well, are we treating these two separate businesses side by side and therefore each gets one? That's the only way that this would fly. So just bear that in mind as we get to discussion.
But also in terms of the west facing one, their proposal with the little shell on the eave wouldn't be allowed.
That's all. They only get one. Because it's a driveway, you shall not qualify for a second wall sign, if that's even a driveway. Right? We're not even sure that is yet. Right? Yeah. The driveway would have to extend all the way along the edge of the building to the back.
And it looks like in this case, it's a moot point because commercial use whose only exposure is from a driveway or parking lot. In this case, that doesn't even apply. There's already the 28th and 80th street facades. So it looks like, so I understand this to be no wall signs on the west side of the building.
And understanding that there's a one of my questions has to do with how are you going to be signing for the gasoline costing, or you had a word for it, but I think of it as a blade sign against the street. So you will have street facing signage facing west and east if it's similar to what's in place right now.
Correct.
But it's a separate piece of the code.
But it's separate to the code, exactly.
Mr. Randish,
Yes,
this
ma'am.
is Commissioner Grambois. Is there a picture of a location, or can you give us an address of a location that you would like the Mercer on location to look like? I know you said.
Well, yeah, we built quite a few of these. We just built 4 stores in Eastern Washington because we do the whole state. And I do basically, but they're much larger stores. They got fast food franchises in them, and but the answer is yes. And the codes are a little more, I guess you can say, quote unquote, lax. You know, we got the, you know, but they're still, yes, I do. I mean, I can probably put something together and email it to Robin for the group if that's okay. I got some pictures. Yes.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions about anything we went over or other code standards where I could be helpful?
Robin, I've just got a quick question. In your diagram talking about the parking, is it that 2 of the parking spaces are EV? Are 5 and 6 in the diagram of those EV?
I believe they are. For yes, it's 5 and 6 that will have charging stations. Brad, please correct me if I'm wrong, but that's my recollection.
Yep, that's correct.
Yeah.
Great. And is there any provision in the code regarding parking requirements and how much of that, what percentage of that can be EV? And again, just so you understand, I want to advocate for EV at every occasion. I just want to make sure that we're appropriately counting on that.
I don't think our code foresaw EV charging or didn't think to address it. So it's the code silent on whether parking spaces or how many parking spaces can have EV charging stations next to them.
I believe
Okay,
Robin
great.
said that there is a requirement for 4 spots, and since 2 of them are EV, there's still 4 remaining.
I thought it was 4.8, wasn't that right?
It's 4.8, and as we discovered last time, the code is silent on how rounding should work. So my thought was that even if we rounded up, that would require 5 spaces, 6 are provided. My understanding is that this is ample, according to the town center code.
Great. And then, if necessary, maybe there's some sort of provision. One of those 2 EV spots would be dedicated as EV only, and one would be open, for general use.
I think that would be consistent with code.
The if I may speak. Okay. Well,
Would you go ahead?
This is Matt Randish.
Right.
Hey, the CV thing is all new. It's all new to me too, and this project we're in a way blessed to be able to probably put in a couple of these. We just did one set in Kennewick and one set in Port Orchard, and just to let you know, both of those they counted them as regular parking stalls. But I'm not saying. I'm just telling you what happened in those jurisdictions. But the thing is these are it's a pair of investments. They won't allow you to put in one. So Shell just came out with this program only for we're the first company because our ownership is on the Shell board of directors that has access to these. And I just thought it would be a really good idea, especially for Mercer Island and everything. Hey, let's get these things in there because what an opportunity at the right time to do this. We're putting in a set in another store in Port Orchard, and it's all new. This is all new stuff to us. I'm still learning. It's a $600,000 investment too. It's huge. So, but if it's one, I can't do it. I've already been told that it's got to be 2s, 4s, 6s, and we were barely able to squeeze it in here. So if it comes push to shove, I'd have to bounce them out. If I can't use those as parking stalls, but I think it'd be, there isn't a lot of this in Mercer Island right now. So I think it'd be a real good positive. So anyway, I just had to throw that little portion out there. I'm still learning too, and I can send the pictures of the EV stations to Robin also to share with some of the pictures of our corporate stores that she can share with you also.
That would be great. And again, just to be clear, I'm a huge advocate for EV. Wouldn't want to see those spaces going away. Operate. I think it's right on target. I think you'll get a lot of feedback, and you'll get advocacy from the Teslas on the island, certainly. My only proposition to Robin was that if we needed to advocate for that 5th stall, that perhaps there was a way to generalize that use with signage as opposed to EV only. Again, I don't know how that works specifically, but would offer that as a proposal at a working session.
I
No,
think-
you would have two installed.
Oh, sorry, was that a question or you're asking for my impression of what the code would say, or was that just a general statement?
Well, let's go ahead and ask. So let me see if I can come up with a clearer code or a clearer ask. Knowing that he needs to buy them in two, and seeing again, some focus on the number of parking spaces that are required recently. If 4.8 are required for this convenience store use, is there a way to have, and the reason I bring this up, and again, I'm a 6-year EV user myself. The most EV stations have signage that says EV use only. My question is, again, my guess is that the Mercer Island Code doesn't handle this, but is there a way to say to sign in one particular location EV charging only, and the other one is general use, but it has an EV charging station, in order to make sure you're compliant with the 5 parking spaces required by the size of the building? That's my question.
My thought is that would be consistent with code because 5 parking spaces are being provided in that scenario, which meets the code standard. And I don't see anything that would either prohibit or require the 6th parking stall to be EV only. I think that's up to the property owner. And again, even with just 5 parking stalls, this project would be compliant with code. So
Great.
I think what you suggested makes sense.
Great. Thank you.
Tracy, is your hand up?
It is. I was wondering, the Aaron Van Aken is not on the call. Is that correct? The gentleman who wrote the last letter in our packet?
The parking memo?
Yes.
I don't believe so, but Matt, Brad, did the gentleman from Heath and Associates join?
No, he isn't here.
Okay. I was just wondering why he chose to include comparisons from other jurisdictions. But he's not here to address that, so.
I think he was just trying to figure out, how to justify the parking, because there was no, from when you talk about good comparison in the traffic, in the traffic handbook for the convenience store or gas station. So they have to kind of just work with comparisons of what other jurisdictions use. So he's always kind of hands are tied on these things of how he presents them when there isn't such a clear-cut definition in the handbook. So that's what he told me.
Thank you.
Robin, do you have anything further to present?
I had a non-design issue just for what it's worth. I had one slide on tree retention. So I didn't include this in the staff report because it's not a town center design standard, but for what it's worth, tree retention standards are in chapter 1910, and they allow tree removal when it's necessary to protect public safety or enable construction work when an owner has used reasonable best efforts to design development so that it doesn't remove trees. Here, tree removal will be contingent on the degree to which excavation is needed, and the extent to which excavation is needed won't be known until there's more investigation done about possible contamination on the site. So that the review of that is ongoing. And so what the city arborist has done in the meantime is to lay out what tree retention standards would apply in different scenarios, or he's reviewing, possible scenarios. And just to give you an early heads up of what your public hearing will look like, the Design Commission is actually the decision authority for tree permits within town center. So expect that to be part of your public hearing. If trees indeed need to be removed, the tree permit will need to be part of the public hearing. So just giving you a few little heads up there, that's all.
Sure, we want to discuss that also. As far as my understanding is that we're going to provide, I mean, there's studies to try to estimate where contamination exists underground, but of course, who knows where it really is until you start digging. So when we were speaking with Public Works, we wanted to outline the worst case scenario and have all our ducks in a row should the worst case scenario come about, where we're digging all the way to the property lines and digging down 20 feet and shoring that whole thing like we're excavating out for a 30-story building. And then if that's the case, we're going to be well into the root system of those trees, which would kill them for sure. So worst case would be then to replace them. So we've had an arborist come out, and then, but we won't be going to that full extent unless we have to while the team that does the cleanup does that. But we will have the piles placed and in place. So as we dig towards that area, and if we can't slope back, then we're starting to come down. And if we undermine those trees, they will have to be removed at that time. So that's kind of the process where we'll be going to. And in worst case, they may be removed, but we're not saying that they will be removed until we get to the actual cleanup. So if that helps any.
Brad, Brad or Robin, have you folks been in contact with the State Department of Ecology as well?
I'll leave that to Bob. So we have Bob Hanford on the line here, and he does our cleanup.
Bob, can you introduce yourself?
Yeah, this is Bob Hanford with Aspect Consulting, and we're basically using the remedial investigation and feasibility study done by Puget Environmental, or the current owner. And basically, they've done a decent job of determining the extent laterally and vertical of the contamination, but we're kind of limited at the property boundary now. There are wells and borings that have been done across the street, but nothing has been done into the street. There's a lot of utilities and stuff. So, we don't know for sure, and we can't tell if there's going to be contamination that goes into the city street. But the idea that was approved from ecology and by PLEA for our work plan is to basically put in a soldier pile wall along the property boundary, both, what are we talking about? Southeast 28th Street and 80th Avenue Southeast. And we're going to excavate down, we're anticipating probably 15, it could go as deep as 20, to excavate any contaminated soil that we find. There'll be extensive confirmation sampling that goes on as they're putting in the soldier pile wall to determine if there is any soil contamination that extends beyond the property boundary. At this time, this is an interim action under MODCA, and we will try to get out as much contamination as possible, and we'll determine if there is anything there afterwards. I think as far as the tree removal and stuff, I mean, I'm not an arborist or anything, but the material would be removed, the contaminated material, it would be backfilled. And I would think if there was tree removal, they could be, hopefully you would try to pull them out and put them back in afterwards, or replace them.
Okay.
If I can add something too, this is Matt Randish. This project is, I'm going to be really honest. The owner of our company, we have a lot of stores, 104 of them, and we've dealt with this all the time, and we this is a big project, and we're on the fence, ready to jump off a cliff and walk away. Okay, just because, and then it'll be there forever. I mean, but we're willing to, like Bob said, and it's been a tough haul, and there's going to be quite a fund coming out of our pocket to do this thing right, and that's how we do it, and that's why we brought on Aspect Consulting. So this is a major project if it goes that far, but our goal is to get this store done and get an NFA and clean it up and be done once and for all. And we would really like the opportunity to get to that point to do it, as long as it's feasible. This whole budgeting process, to be honest with you, is almost 3 million more than we want it to be. And with the personality of the petroleum industry nowadays too, everybody watches the news, is, what's the future? So, but we're dedicated to this project. We want to get it done. We want to get the site cleaned up. We want to make a nice facility there and get it done once and for all. And we're following all the guidelines and doing everything to the T. So I just had to say that, because my owner's ready to chop my head off, because, like, yeah, I'll just keep that part to myself. But this is a little bigger of a project than we thought it was going to end up being. Let's just put it that way. And we're committed and dedicated to get it done, as long as it stays, streamlined for us.
This is Bob Hanford one more time. We've done numerous projects on Mercer Island. I think the city is well familiar with what Aspect has done on other projects similar. And, we do go through the whole MOTCA process of how this is. And it's not cut and dried. There's been a lot of investigation done on this site. And I think the boundaries are very well defined. They're very close to the property boundaries. I think this will work out. It's not a big deal. Sometimes you leave a little bit. The bulk of the contamination is going to be where the tanks were, and that gets removed. You're sitting at some very hard glacial fill out there. It probably has not extended. We know it hasn't gone across the street anywhere. I don't think this is a big deal breaker. I think it's something that's easily maintained. And we can't tell you ahead of time what the outcome is going to be, but likely there may be an environmental covenant under the street, but these are things that municipalities deal with all the time. This is not a big deal in our opinion.
Okay, thank you.
So to be clear then,
Robin,
just to be clear, your site plan is showing all new trees and no retained trees, right? The one that was submitted?
I think that's the worst case scenario Brad was mentioning, is that if excavation is needed, then there is a plan to be able to have tree replacement
So there
installed.
are
Did I get that right?
You're
Sorry,
correct.
Brett.
Right,
Okay,
right.
just making sure. Pardon me, Colin.
So
Yeah, we
I'm
want to
seeing,
keep them, but yeah.
right. So I'm seeing 2 new trees coming in. How many would have to come out in the worst case scenario?
So there's those 2 street trees. There's only 2 trees, qualified as trees, on the site. And there's the 2 street trees. Those are the 2 that would be within our excavation parameters, we believe.
So you're replacing the 2 that would have to come out.
Yeah, correct.
Under the worst case scenario, there'd only be 2 coming out.
Correct. Yep.
Okay.
Robin, anything else?
Not for me.
Okay, thank you. Unless we need to do something else regarding protocol, Andrea, I will open us up officially to discussion, although we've already been doing quite a bit of discussion, which is perfectly fine.
Nope, discussion is perfect.
Thank you.
Does anyone have an image of what the west facade will look like with the new glazing or the additional glazing?
Brad, I think I
Does that
saw
drop-
one in your presentation.
Yes, I do. Oops.
Yeah, I think that was in the presentation.
Okay, would you bring that up for me one more time?
Yeah. Okay, here it is. Do you see that?
I do.
It's the lower one. Essentially, there are two existing windows right there right now, old windows, and we would just keep those and fill them with the new storefront.
Okay, and that remaining chunk of wall to the south of that right-hand window is less than
Yeah.
18 feet.
Yeah, it's about 18 feet. That's where the cooler box is. And
Is it? I guess my question is it less than 18 or is it more than 18? Right, because that drives the determination of whether it's a blank wall or not.
Okay. Let me see if I can have to open AutoCAD, see if I can figure out how to do that. Can I stop the share real quick and then
Yeah, no, that's fine.
I don't think I've seen them.
see what I got here.
And while Brad's working on that, I can bring up the site plan again. There is also a line of trees and landscaping on the west elevation. So there's proposed to be cherry trees, I think rhododendron and boxwood. So if indeed we have what is currently proposed on the west elevation qualifies as a blank wall, then perhaps we can look at the landscaping, determine if that screens the blank wall sufficiently.
So coming back to that, so I've got 19 feet 4 inches from the edge of that existing window to the edge of the new addition.
Okay. But on the east side, you're pushing out a chunk of the building, right, with that different material. So you're breaking it up that way over there.
Yeah, correct.
Okay. So technically we have two blank walls, one on the west and then the entire south. What are your plans for the use of the exterior space on the west and the south side of the building?
I can probably try to, that would be our best area for, it's a congested site. It's one of the smallest ones that we'll probably have in our fleet. It's mostly deliveries, and things like that, where we'd be able to stage things. It'd be hard to pull too many smaller trucks and pull the beer guy to pull the pallets of beer, and just like everything else. So they can't do in the fuel islands. They'll have to do it more towards that back end there a little bit, and it's a tight space, but that's there'll be possible just small storage area a little bit.
This is Brad again. I mean, I was starting to look at this too as I was going through this PowerPoint and thinking that probably is all going to be a screened off like a wood fence all the way around the south and that west side. And then we're going to lay down on the south, right behind the cooler box wall. The south wall will probably lay down compressors that are going to feed the cooler box. And then that's just kind of your back of house area. Right now, there's an old chain link fenced off area just filled with a bunch of tires, right? That we're going to clean out that from the old auto repair shop. But I think that whole back side should be a fenced off area with a nice cedar wood fence, to meet code. Maybe add some landscaping on the south east side along the EV station. So you have a nice landscape strip to a cedar wood fence that would then go all the way around, come back around the QFC side and dive in halfway into the building, or even to the front of the building, have a couple of gates there. And you can have your service trucks come in, stage their stuff, be out of traffic. It's screened off. And that's also your screening to put your mechanical equipment back there that's hidden behind that nice tall hedge to the south. Does everybody follow what I'm trying to say there? I think that's your best option. And I think that's
Okay,
where
I have a couple.
Yeah.
I have a couple quick questions. So are you going to stage the trucks when you do your logistical resupply? Will they be on the side, or will they be in the front, or will they be in the back? Typically.
Deliveries you're talking about?
Right.
Yeah, I think that they would just slide in there to the side between QFC and the building. And then they're out of the
And
way.
the compressors for the coolers,
Mhm.
I just heard that they would be put on the side. Are they going to be on the side
South.
of the building, or will they be on top of the building?
Yeah, I think they'd be on the ground, not on top of the building. They'd be on the ground right behind the south side.
Will you have enough room for the given facility to be able to not only be able to park a truck on the side when it needs to show up for deliveries? Will you have enough room to be able to go to facilitate with minimal effort, being able to go to the 2 parking spaces on the south side of the property that you said will exist, with those compressors in place on the
Yeah,
side?
let me share my screen here again and look at the site plan.
They're on opposite sides of the building, Rich.
Yeah, I think you just need
The trucks would come down the west side and the parking is on the east. So I think they're going to be 2 totally separate access points.
There are 2 spots on the west too, up high, sort of on the northern end, right?
There are, yeah, they're parallel to the property line.
Yeah.
Yeah, if we look at this, so everybody see the site plan there?
Yes.
You can see my cursor?
Yep.
Yeah, so the trucks would come in and back in here and then feed out the back of the truck and get into the front. We'd probably have a gate here and then put a hedge here, a fence that would go all the way around 2 gates. The compressors would be back on this backside, right along, and then keep them off the roof. Then we don't have to worry about screening the roof. Right now, that whole building drainage just comes off the back. So we're just going to continue that slope to the back with a gutter and downspouts, and that'll be tied to the new storm drainage system that we have designed. And then laid down on the ground on some new concrete pads would be the compressors, either stacked or I think just easiest, just lay them down on the ground right behind the cooler boxes.
Okay. Thank you. Do we have any further items for discussion?
I've got an item regarding, really regarding the signage. So just kind of going through and taking a look. We don't see anything. Would love to see, what you're proposing for the street front signage. But more than that, the canopy. I see a lot of examples kind of going through and looking at other canopies similar to what you have within the corporate branding standards, and quite a few of them look like they're neon lit or internally illuminated. Can you describe what you're doing in terms of the illumination on that yellow and red in this submittal?
Yeah, I believe that these are. Yeah, go ahead, Matt. You know better.
No, I can sort of help out there. I don't know if this really showed it all that well. I can't remember if the Jackson store has the shell image on the current shell image. Let's put it that way. I think it does. But see, you see the red, and then you see the yellow. The yellow is like a teardrop, and then that's actually white above it. So that's part of the canopy wrap. See. And it really looking at this, you can't tell that. So it just looks like, so that part is white. So the red, it's a LED string. It's all LED that goes through it and it illuminates inside, but it's very mild. It's like Christmas tree lights in a enclosed plastic string that goes all the way around. And that's what the red is. So it's not just red and yellow. It's red, yellow, and then white on that lined out area. That's the actual image of the canopy.
So just so I understand, are you saying that the red is backlit, or is the red?
Internally, it's internally. It's like a tube. The red's a tube that wraps the canopy, and inside of it is that string of LED lights that goes all the way around it.
Understood. It's face lighting the yellow fascia.
Right. Yeah. It helps.
Just kind of the red is glowing, just the red glow through that tube.
It's red glow, and it's a good highlight. They've done a shell in the current image because of current times more than anything. Has done a really good job of, not blasting out inner city, convenience stores that just light up the sky. They've done a really good job of containing it and put a really good product out there on the current lighting. Before, they were regular light tubes, you know what I mean, that went in there, went all the way around, that they burn out and it would look terrible. There's little gaps everywhere. Now they have that string that goes all the way around. They never burn out, just if they do, the whole thing goes out. But yeah, it's nice looking.
Thank you, Matt, or Mr. Randish. And then just so I'm clear, does that same motif, the red bar that's illuminated and the yellow fascia above it that's face illuminated, does that extend also on the northern end of that canopy as proposed?
Yes, it goes all the way around, except the only spot that we wouldn't put it is facing the building.
Yeah.
Because it's, facing the building, it would just be a flat ACM, either white or yellow. It really wouldn't matter.
Okay, great. Thank you. Good.
I got a few things. I guess, I'm going to wrap a whole bunch of things up at once and just sort of give you my quick opinion. I think the south facade being this blank wall, it's not my favorite. It's not what the code really wants to provide, but the truth is it's facing a utility yard. There's a big hedge in the building just to the south of it. And even if we put some windows out there and make them put some materials, it's just going to, it's going to be full of stuff, pallets and compressors and all that sort of thing. I think if you're inclined to put that fence, that 6-foot cedar fence around it, generally speaking, I think I'm okay with it. And I would rely on that fence, and I would rely on the screening to the south, that big hedge to the south, to do enough to tie it to the code to feel okay about it. The west facade, I think you've basically taken care of. I know that there's 19 feet there, but there is a nice hedge that you guys control between the building and the QFC, and that hedge combined with the cedar fence, I think would take care of that for me personally. I think I'm not inclined to have two signs, regardless of what two businesses there might be on any given street frontage. So I would look for you guys to pick one or the other on that east facade. Sounds like the north facade, you'll get started out with some design work. I guess then the last thing for me really is materials. And, there are a couple of pieces here that I think are important. The code talks about EIFS specifically. There are two reasons for that, right? One is that if it's done badly, it will fail, right? And the reason EIFS has got such a terrible reputation is that they didn't know how to install it when it first hit the market, right? They didn't provide air behind it. They didn't provide moisture, evaporation, if you will, or moisture management. And so it all just rotted and fell apart. It's a lot like stucco. You can do stucco now well, you can do EIFS technically well at the same time. So being aware of that, the second piece of it then is just how it looks, right? With what the texture of it is, what the color of it is, where the expansion joints are, and that kind of thing. And the thing that we suffer most as a design commission doing things virtually is that we have no way to actually see materials in person, right? And that is in my opinion, between the EIFS and the different bricks and the stone and that kind of thing that you have here, presenting those in a way that we will be actually able to see them in reality, and like with real lighting and real materials. And ideally, as you say, if you've got other stores that are built with these materials, detail photos, backed up photos, intermediate photos, that kind of thing is going to be the only way that you're going to, I think, be able to sell us on the quality of the materials and their cohesiveness and their applicability. I appreciate the renderings, but as an architect, I know how these renderings work, and everybody's monitor has a slightly different color index, and there's just no way to do it well. So I think showing images the next time you come before us is going to be a really important tool for you to kind of get over that hurdle, which I see as a hurdle.
I have one suggestion regarding the materials. Andrea, would it be possible for you to work with the developer to provide a set of the physical materials that we could then view in the lobby of City Hall?
Yes, we could arrange something like that, Chair.
Thank you.
That'd be great. I like that idea.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The images will be equally important though, because not all of us will likely be able to go see it.
Yeah. Getting one doesn't get you out of the way of not doing the other.
Perfect.
Anyway, any other comments or concerns or discussion points by my fellow commissioners?
A small quick comment. This is Commissioner Soprano. The palette, I shy away from doing things of personal taste, but they seem to be a little bit more in line with like the motif of the Southwest instead of the Pacific Northwest. I don't know if other people share that sentiment, but that being said, I feel like this is a minor thing.
I definitely think seeing them in person or getting some real life images will go a long way to understanding the palette. So I would reserve judgment until seeing them in reality.
Well, we'll do this, Matt. We'll do that, of course. I'm also going to set the set of pictures of the last couple stores we just built. They have Firehouse Subs is a franchise in it, and they're big stores. But I'll give you an idea of what we do and how we do it, and at the same time get you the materials that you need. Hopefully that will satisfy everybody's need to see this.
One more minor thing on the north face of the building. It looks like the doors, the center, the entry door is like offset to the side instead of centered, even though the building is kind of like very symmetrical. And I'm wondering if that is for a reason, because it just feels lopsided. But
I think it's just the flow of the inside. I don't have an inside picture, but just the flow of the inside and where all the gondolas are and how the space internally works with. That's why the location of the door.
Brad, if it's possible, could we for the next meeting have a very rough idea of the interior so we can see the flow and relate it to what we see with respect to the windows and walls?
For sure.
Thank you.
to that point, Chair Edwin's point, on the east wall, there's these like kind of two small awkward windows, which I assume are behind like the countertop, but again, we can't know because we don't know what's inside.
Yep. Yeah. So those two walls was just to try to not have a blank wall. So we have high windows going into a bathroom and a high window above our prep.
Okay.
Kitchen prep. They're just there because code wanted them, but maybe they don't.
I think you could make the argument that the materials and the change in, I'm assuming there's a change in plane and that the piece with the windows actually bumps out a little bit. Am I seeing that right? Or
yeah, it bumps out about 10 inches.
Okay. is not the way it's sort of showing in that, on that west elevation. But if it bumps out that much, and it's a different material, Tom, I mean, chime in here, but it seems like that probably satisfies the blank wall criteria without the windows, between that and the canopy and all that.
Okay, so that's good news. Yeah, because it was.
Tom, do you agree? Does
Yeah,
everyone else agree?
Makes sense to me. I mean, I just feel like the proportion of the windows to that wall, and I don't know, it just seems awkward.
Yeah,
It'd be nice if they related to the storefront windows a bit more, but if there's a wall in between them, it's gonna be hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, like right here is office. Here's a bathroom, and then the back room.
May I chime in? I think the awkward windows might have been my fault. They might have been due to a review comment. The width of that section of the building, even though it protrudes a few inches, it looks like, I just dimensioned the plans, it's about 15 feet. So I'm guessing one of my early review comments might have been, this is more than 6 feet by 15 feet, therefore it's technically a blank wall.
Okay, so maybe they need to stay. That might be just something to look at.
Functionally, I think it's nice to have a window where there is a restroom. That's no comment on the design or how it looks, but, and also in an office, I think it's nice to have windows.
Yeah, the office doesn't have a window, but we could put. I mean, I guess it's a matter of security for the office manager. But yeah.
I thought you said one of these windows looked into an office. One was into the restroom and one was into a prep kitchen, maybe you said.
Oh yeah, prep kitchen. Yep, just above the prep area. But yeah, that wouldn't be so bad because it's high enough. It's
Right.
just there's hoods up there and stuff getting through, and it's just trying to squeeze that window in to not, with all the mechanical stuff going on, to squeeze in it. But I think it actually works. But then having the two, I tried to balance it out. It kind of looks a little face without a nose and a mouth with the eyebrow and the two eyes. But
So,
With a sweet tiara, shaped like a shell.
there you go.
yeah, I'm gonna, again, knowing this is a work session, and we're gonna offer up. I'd like to offer up some solutions and get the other commissioners to chime in, please. Let me know how you feel. But I'd say that for me, the fundamental issue here, and you were talking about it. Well, the fundamental issue here is there's no dialogue between the convenience store and the canopies at all. They're very, very different animals. Even though the materials are fairly similar. You've got the steel of the columns associated with the pumps, and the steel running around on the white on the fascias, and yet the steel on the building is black. And the canopies are clean and sleek, and the building is less. So one of the things that I might suggest when you come back, especially in regards to the EIFS, is potentially looking at some way of dovetailing these two elements so that they feel a bit more of the same language. And the easy thing would be to say do white along the top, and that's not right. But maybe I'm looking at the elevation, the west elevation, and I see there's some painting details, just some really minor things. The gray associated with the bottom of the pilasters, the bottom of the pylons or stanchions, that may be a handsome addition in terms of the taupe or replacement for the taupe, or certainly seeing if there's a way that you can start bringing some of these elements together. So yes, that is it exactly. I don't know whose cursor that is.
Yeah, that's mine. Yeah, Brad. Yep.
Yeah, yep. Applying that just so there's a little bit of a dialogue, and I open that up to the rest of the commissioners.
I have never seen it at a gas station, and I would love it.
and I know we need to be careful in terms of what we can suggest, but I think if you're looking at some way of thinking about how to handle the fascia, the EIFS, I might suggest that you start to look at ways that how to, again, stitch these two things together. Looking at the Jackson, I mean, there's a very, very strong dialogue between the canopy and the building itself, but it is very white, and I wouldn't want to do that. I appreciate what you're doing in terms of the horizontality of the stonework, especially on the west elevation. I think we see a little bit of that also in the north elevation, but I think that horizontal band could also be a feature. Thoughts from the other commissioners?
A quick question, does Shell have certain requirements of what the pump and the canopy must adhere to?
Yes, it's presented to you guys.
So is that gray a Shell requirement that's there now, or is that something that you could change?
Yes, no, so the bollards are 1 foot gray, shell gray, and all the rest shell white. And so the fuel islands.
And that's a requirement by Shell for the
Yes.
location.
Yep. And if you go by Jackson next time, you'll see it there too. I mean, all Shell stations.
Yeah, just for the record, at that Jackson, you can see the red light band. I was just looking at some photos online, and it's there. It stands off a little bit, Matt. Is that right, from the facade?
Yes, yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay. So you guys, if you want to go see that, you'll see it there.
Their store, I think, was done. Correct me if I'm wrong. 7, 8 years ago, maybe.
We never saw it come through the design commission, so I don't. And I've been here 11 years now, so I don't know. They either did it under the radar, or I wasn't there that day.
Well, yeah. Well, anyway, so this might be more the newer LED product, is what I'm trying to say. So I haven't really been down there. I see it, but for a while, but I could next time I'm in Mercer.
Hey, Matt, would it be possible to bring the stone onto the column and make a nicer looking column that's holding up the canopy, bring it up about halfway?
Well, the columns that we have are that we're putting in the store are circular. They're round.
Yeah, but we could wrap them in stone.
Then I'd go to square, because those round columns are made specifically for the aesthetics and the class of the canopy. And I wouldn't want to see them wrap with stone. I'd go to a square canopy, the pillar, because it's a lot less, because then you're,
Stone works better on it.
I think that would help bring the canopy tied together if we could,
Well, whatever, at this point, whatever makes it work, we're willing to do, just at this point, as long as it's reasonable.
Oh, do you have any additional points regarding what I was saying?
This is Paul Hanford with Aspect, and I do think on those columns or on the pump islands that they need to be a visible deterrent from running into them. And I believe, if you've been to gas stations, you want to make sure that people are not running into them. I don't think a stone or something around the columns by the pump islands is a smart idea. I don't have any basis for that, but I'm pretty sure that's probably something you got to look at.
There's a new Fred Meyer down in Renton, new gas station. They have stone wrapped columns. It looks really nice.
Yeah. Your columns are between the two pumps, right? You just have a single column at each pump.
Correct.
Yeah, so they're pretty well protected. But Bob, your point's taken. Shell may say absolutely not. We'll have to see.
That part's fine on that, as long as we, that part is just the.
So if we could bring something from the building onto there and then take that gray and bring it back to the building, I think that and we start to tie things together. So,
the column thing, I think would, I don't mind that idea really. And with that, that won't be an issue with anybody with Shell. We'd be able to push that through. but I would almost think, oh, I don't know if you guys, anybody ever been to Squim? There's a big Chevron, the tribal Chevron up there. Back in the day, I was a consultant and I did that store before I was doing this job. And they have big square, but it's brick, but it's a big, huge site too. And they have the stonework and they're square and it looks good,
That's like the most beautiful gas station in history up there.
Yeah, it is. And
Bring it to Mercer Island.
no, we're gonna give you one here. We're obviously, I think we're close. We're just trying to put the icing on the cake and tune it up here. That's all we're doing. So, and we're willing to do that. But the basic thing that Shell wants, as long as they have their canopy and their basic image, we can do whatever we want with the columns.
Okay.
All right, let's explore that. I think it's a great idea, Anthony. I think I'm good, comment-wise.
Okay. Any further comments?
I'm
Going
good.
once, going twice, going 3 times. Discussion is closed. Thank you very much for your time, sirs, and we will move on. This brings us to other business. I welcome Jeff Thomas, Interim CPD Director, for a Director's Report.
While he's coming up, Bob, everybody else applicants, you're welcome to leave. You don't have to stick around for this, I promise.
Guys, thanks for your evening and appreciate everything. Thank you.
You as well, guys. Thanks.
Thank you.
You guys did a really nice
Next time.
job. Appreciate it.
Hey, good evening, everyone. For the record, Jeff Thomas, Interim Director of CPD. And I have a very brief report tonight as I will cede the rest of my time to the commission here at the end of the meeting for other conversation. But I did want to just note that we do have a few folks that are having their final design commission meeting this evening. Chair Irwin, I believe you've served 9 years on the design commission, all said and done. Commissioner Czar, who's not with us tonight, I believe is also, this would be her final meeting tonight. She has served 4 years on the design commission. And where's Robin? Did she leave? Oh, there she is. Robin, this is her final design commission meeting tonight, as she will also be leaving the city after 5 years, I believe, here at the beginning of June. So lots of change, but I did want to just take a quick moment to thank both the chair, Commissioners R and Robin, for your service to the city of Mercer Island. It's been greatly appreciated over the years. I know the commission will probably have a few words to say here in a minute or so, but thank you to all of you for what you've done for the city and all the hard work that you've put in, especially as it relates to the design commission. I did want to just add on a few other quick comments looking forward. I don't believe we have a firm date for your next meeting as of yet. Some of that may depend on the applicant that you just finished speaking, clearing around some materials for you, and getting a public hearing scheduled, of course, and so forth to move that project forward. When we do get to your first meeting after, assuming that it is after June 1st, there will be one of the first orders of business will be to elect a new chair and vice chair. So we'll look forward to that. And I also did want to make one other quick introduction here. Lauren Anderson, one of our planners, is on the call with us here tonight. Lauren, do you want to pop your screen open just for a quick moment? I did want the commission to be introduced to Lauren. She will be taking over this project that you discussed here this evening from Robin, and bringing it back when the applicant is ready, and we've taken all the appropriate procedural steps. So she doesn't have her screen open. She might be a little shy tonight, but we'll get her on screen for sure. So Anyway, with that, Chair, that will conclude my director's report. I'm happy to answer any questions any of the commissioners may have, or we can move on to other business.
Do any of the commissioners have any questions?
Yes. How can you let Robin go?
Wasn't my choice, trust me, but we're very sad to see Robin go. She's worked really hard here for 5 years, and she's going to pursue some other opportunities and see what else is out there in the world as it relates to land use planning and community development and such.
And
Thank you.
Lauren,
That's very kind. Sorry.
Lauren wanted me to let you know the computer she joined on doesn't have a camera or a microphone. So she can
Okay.
only.
Oh,
That's my kind of computer.
Yeah. Well, we'll all get to meet Lauren at your next meeting. So,
Right. Robin, I just wanted to say thank you again. I'm glad I got my compliment in on the last meeting. So you've always handled yourself extraordinarily well, and appreciate your professionalism every step. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
thank you, Robin.
Ditto to all that.
We'll miss you greatly.
Rich, finish up. Yeah.
Sorry, I said my piece.
I wrote my piece to Robin separately, but I will reiterate what everybody's saying. You're going to be missed. You've been a great addition to all of these proceedings over the years, and it's been really helpful. So thank you.
Thank you. And I didn't plan on saying anything, but it strikes me how much this has been a tremendous learning opportunity. I really appreciate getting 7 different perspectives on these projects. It's broadened how I think
Only
about
7?
design. Or 20, but it's really interesting, and it's really broadened my thinking, and I think made me a better reviewer. So thank you all. It's been a really great experience.
And now on to Richard.
Okay. Oh, you don't need any.
Well, should we start with Suzanne? Because I think she's trying to renew, right? I thought Suzanne was trying to do another term.
I did. So just for the record, I did check with the clerk this afternoon, our city clerk, and we have not received anything. So that was as of 4 something this afternoon. So I know our clerk's office had reached out to commissioners but there hasn't been any exchange back of information as of this point. So I did want to, in the event she comes back, that'd be great. I guess I rang a false alarm. If it was to be her last meeting this evening, I wanted to make sure I certainly recognize her service for the city.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. All right. Well, we'll help you ring the bell there. Appreciate that. Appreciate the heads up, because I know she was interested as of 2 weeks ago. So
thank you.
Yep. Rich.
Yeah.
Anthony, do you want to take the first shot?
Well, the funny thing was that before everybody else got on, I kind of passed on to him. I just wanted to thank you, Richard, for the acumen that you bring in the procedures and the stewardship, and keeping the rest of the commissioners, myself included, on the straight and narrow. I think that your understanding of the high purpose and how to relate that high purpose back to the legitimacy and the interpretation of the codes and the procedures associated with our duties is extraordinary. So I've very much appreciated your tenure here, and have learned considerably from you. So I wanted to thank you in front of the entire group. Thank you for your time and your efforts and your focus.
Thank you.
Yeah, I've certainly seen Rich in the hot seat a number of times, and it's been I've been very glad that I wasn't there in his place. And it's
actually you were there the first time, Colin. I think you were there for my second meeting, where during the second meeting I went from interim vice chair to interim chair, and we immediately had to deal with a low income housing addition issue.
Yep. Yep. No,
That
it's
was the
you started
second
out of the
meeting.
gate pretty hot. Yeah. No, that's for sure. And I've appreciated your steadfastness and in those situations and your commitment to the process and the commitment to this commission and the city. It's been great to be seated next to you for all these years as we've worked together to kind of make all this stuff happen. So thank you. I salute you.
Thank you.
Yeah, there's no doubt that, I don't know you super well. We haven't been able to work together too long, but the meetings that I've been at where you are present versus where you're not, they run a little more quick and a little more efficiently, which I always appreciate.
Well, I think part of the chair's role in this commission is to balance between making sure everybody gets their say and making sure we get an idea from everybody what their opinion is and what information they can provide to facilitate determining what's going on, versus at the same time always making sure that we revolve around keeping to the code and revolve around coming up with a final result that is most useful and beneficial to the city and its residents. And it has been at times a very humbling experience. It has at times been a very demanding experience, but I can't do it without the rest of the commissioners. So thank you for your service. And even though they're not there, thanks to those who have served over my time, my 9 years here.
You've always been quite a voice of reason, and hopefully will fill your shoes with 2 or 3 or 4 of us taking a shoe each. We'll try.
I like that imagery.
I'll take one shoe if someone I'll take the front part of the shoe. No, we do. Thank you. And it's been a pleasure working in the calm and collected commission meetings that we've had. I have definitely seen other public bodies where things are not so concise or rational. So I definitely appreciate your influence on the tenure of the meetings. Thank you.
You're welcome. And again, we have not always agreed on everything. Colin and I have had a couple of rounds back and forth over the years, but the point is to make sure everybody gets their say and that it's clearly understood, so that when we do make final decisions, they're made under the aegis of knowing what's going on fully. So thank you all for being members of the commission. Keep up the good work. I think we're in good hands.
Thank you, Richard.
And with that, announcements and communications. Do we have anything additional to report, Andrea?
I do not, Chair.
Okay. We do not have a specific date for the next Design Commission meeting. There being no other business to come before the Design Commission, the time now is 7:38 p.m. Pacific time, and the meeting is adjourned. However, as a reminder to the commissioners, please stay seated until the city staff has terminated the Zoom broadcast. Good evening, stay safe, and stay healthy.
Thank you, Rich.
You're welcome.